All right. Hi, everyone. Great to see you all here. So we're going to get started, and people will join as they sort of trickle up from Kiddush. But we're going to do what we've been doing over the course of, I think we're on month 10. So this is the 10th in a series of Oneg celebrating our 50 years as a synagogue, as the LGBTQ synagogue in New York. And this chapter, for those who have not been reading along and not doing your homework, is about all the learning programs that have come out of CBST. And we thought it would be so wonderful to get to hear from graduates of our Limud program who all had their bar mitzvahs at CBST. And to get to hear a little bit from the younger generation about what they have experienced growing up in this very unique community. So I want to invite them first to introduce themselves. So we'll start with, actually, and when you introduce yourself, say your name and what year you are in school, and how many years your family has been at CBST. But actually, I just want to say one thing before we get started, which is that we have these three here in the sanctuary, but we also have Shoshana Hirschman, who's online. Is Shoshana on the Zoom? Yay! Hi, Shoshana. Great. So, Shoshana, you are now being spotlight lit on the Zoom. And I just want to say a huge, huge, huge thank you to these four who have agreed to be interviewed. And just so everybody knows, agreed, have been forced, I don't know, whatever. But I just want to say that if any of you are not in daily interaction or with teens or with students of any kind, they are so busy. So it's amazing that you guys made time for this. And I think that Shoshana is, Shoshana, you're like in 20 to 30 minutes, you have to go to a Frisbee practice, is that right? Okay, great. So we have Shoshana for half an hour, and then she has to run to Frisbee, okay? So why don't we start with you, Malka? Why don't you introduce yourself, say how, what year you are, and how long your family's been members of CBST.
So, hi, I'm Malka Adderman Alcorn. I am a senior in high school, and I've been coming to CBST for 17 years.
I'm Naomi. I'm also a senior. I'm also a senior in high school, and I guess the same as Malka, 17 years.
My name is Lula. I am a sophomore in high school, and I've been here for 7 years.
Wow, great. And Shoshana, will you unmute and tell us the same? And where are you, Shoshana?
I'm in my room at school. I'm a sophomore in college at Clark University, and I've been a member of CBST for 19 years. And I'm so sorry.
And you have a roommate.
I live in a community. So that's
Great.
where I am.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us from Clark. We appreciate it. So to start off the conversation, we want to do a little bit of history of the sort of the unique place that CBST sits in even thinking about having children's programming, which for so many communities is a given, and not just a given, but also a lot of how they organize around even membership and starting and sort of the focus of their programs is often children's programming. But being an LGBTQ shul, that was not true for CBST, and for so many, many, many years, the idea of having kids in a gay and lesbian shul was unthinkable, and there were moments in time where that question brought some amount of tension. So we wanted to ask our teens actually to read from the book to give us a little history about the way that kids programming came to be. So I think we're going to go 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so educating the next generation. The October 1988 newsletter reported that Shahar Zahav in San Francisco had established a Hebrew school. 2 years later, Mel Rosen predicted that creating a CBST Hebrew school was around the corner. In fact, while it would soon offer children's programming for Shabbat and holidays, CBST was still a decade away from establishing its own school. Families with young children were a very small minority. Until there was a critical mass of children in any age group, CBST members needed to enroll their children in other Jewish schools.
By the mid 1990s, Rabbi Kleinbaum established the monthly Aleph Bet Shabbat service for children and their families. It was led each year by a Cooperberg Master Rabbinical intern and was highly successful. Yet it lacked critical mass to warrant a more comprehensive children's education program. In addition, there remained considerable resistance to devoting the limited congregational resources to expanding children's programming.
We at CBST have a role to play that is not being played elsewhere in the world, she maintained. As a synagogue, we have a moral responsibility to children. We don't all have to become parents to fulfill that responsibility. We don't all have to become biological parents to fulfill that responsibility. But I believe we have a moral responsibility to make sure that Jewish young people, children, young adults know that there is a community in which it is possible to be deeply Jewish and openly gay.
Thank you for sharing the history, and I think that last part is a quote from one of Rabbi Kleinbaum's drashot, imagining a world where children's programming could exist at CBST. So to begin, I wanted to just ask all four of you, what are some of your earliest memories of being at CBST, or a standout memory for you of growing up and being a part of CBST Kids programming? So it's for all four of you, so we can go this way, and then Shoshana will come to you also.
I mean, I think probably some of my earliest memories are being here and I remember talking a lot about social justice. I feel like a lot of my earliest memories don't even relate to talking 100% about Judaism all the time. I just remember like being newly immersed in religion being combined with social justice, because at the synagogue we were before, it was literally entirely like, sit on the floor and I'll tell you Torah stories. And here it was kind of like, okay, let's talk about the world a little bit. So I think that was something that stood out to me once we started coming to CBST.
I would say some of my first memories were like at the old building when we would climb up on like the stacks of the blue chairs and then we would like push the floor tiles up and then like all the dust would come out.
I think one of my earliest memories would probably be CBST retreats, especially the softball games. Those were always really fun. So yeah.
Thank you guys so much. Shoshana. Sorry, Shoshana. Earliest memories.
Is my audio okay, or is it like really
Great.
horrible?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd echo some of that stuff. And yeah, earliest memories definitely Bethune Street. And I feel like specifically the stuff that sticks out is holidays and whatnot, like baking hamantashen in that funny little kitchen, and all of the costume parades on Purim, and watching people read Megillah in a million different languages, and watching the first B'nai Mitzvot happen and thinking about mine, beginning to think about mine. Yeah, all of that.
Amazing, thank you. Go ahead. Okay, well, I also just want to introduce Mia Rothstein, if you don't know her. Mia's the lead of our educational programming at CBST, both Lair House and starting from B Mitzvah through the teen track. And I think has taught every single teen on this call. Just two? Oh, never mind. Well, whatever. I've only been here for 2 years, so in my opinion, she seems to have taught everyone. So to go along with the fact that clearly you have grown with CBST, as evidenced by all of your memories of Bethune Street, we also wanted to ask, what was it like to come to CBST as a young kid when it wasn't as common to come from an LGBTQ family? Did you have a sense then that CBST was a special place? How did CBST feel in those early days for you as a kid from an LGBTQ family? So Shoshana, maybe we'll come to you first on this one. No, she's there. There you are. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah, I definitely think I had a sense that it was like a special place. I was like the only kid from an openly queer family at my elementary school, so it was definitely significant to be in a community where that was the norm, and where I could call out Ema and like multiple people would turn their heads and
Multiple emas.
yes, multiple emas. Yeah, I think actually the fact that it was a Jewish community was probably the biggest thing, because me and my brother were pretty much the only Jews at our elementary middle school. So yeah, and the combination of those two things definitely made it feel like wildly significant to be in a place every other week where that was common among everyone. Was definitely big. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that for me, especially growing up, I didn't really know anything different because CBS2 was really all I knew, and I knew that it was a special place, and I had a lot of friends there, and that's what I got out of it. But I don't think I really saw myself as any different, especially in that community, than I did outside of there.
Yeah, similar to Malka and Shoshana, like this was always normal to me, and then I realized that like most people who I knew from school like had straight parents. So that was like when I realized that CBST was like different from other places.
Yeah, I thought everybody was gay for like the first 6 years of my life. So, I, I mean, I grew up in like mostly gay spaces. So, you know, I think probably once I got older, I was like, oh, like most synagogues aren't gay. But, I guess, yeah, so it became significant. But in the moment, I was kind of oblivious to that.
Amazing. Thank you. I also want to shout out on Zoom, we have Joe and Elizabeth, Shoshana's parents, and we have Lula's grandma, Deborah. So, hi, Grandma. Oh, and Grandpa, both there? Wow, hi. So glad you're joining us. I'm doing a lot of the talking because Mia lost her voice, but everybody is welcome when the questioning time comes to address questions to both me and Mia and our teens. So I'm going to take the talking part for now so that she can save her voice as much as possible. So how has CBST affected the way you identify as a Jew? Are there values or characteristics that CBST has sort of instilled in you that you feel are unique to having grown up here? And not all of you have to answer this, but if you feel called to answer, it would be great to hear from you.
I can start. For me, something that CBST has really instilled in me is a sense of community and being there for others and supporting my community, especially during injustices. And I think that growing up with that sense of kind of right and wrong and knowing what to do to help others has really helped me, not only in like a Jewish sense and my responsibility to other Jews, but I think also just as a person.
It's beautiful, Malka. Thank you.
I think I'm like kind of still constantly like at conflict about how I feel about being Jewish and how I relate to religion. And I feel like CBST has kind of, if anything, taught me that there's so many different ways that you can be Jewish. Like it's not just like you just have to pray and God's amazing and that's it. It's like there's a lot, like it's, okay, that's part of it. But, I think I've learned that there's a lot more to it. Like there's a lot of values and it like greatly connects to what's going on in the world. I mean, especially like this past week, I felt like it's so important to be connected to being Jewish right now.
Actually, and a different question that we had, and Shoshana, I don't know if you want to share anything. I'm just looking, it's hard to see you on the Zoom. Yes?
Yeah, I was gonna say, sorry about any background noise or interruptions. My house is kind of a revolving door, but I think that CBST like pretty massively affected the way I identify as a Jew with the like very innate connection to social justice and activism, and just like some other people said, like being in touch with what's going on in the world, just like the way that every drosh is connected to a call to action, and every service ends with a rundown of all the like other events that usually connect to social justice or activism that are going on that week. And that's something I've definitely carried with me, like both in my practices at college with my involvement in like alternative Jewish life on campus, as well as in my studies. I'm doing a lot of stuff within my major. Oh.
Okay, well, I would say each Oneg I come to, I think that things can't get crazier, and
I'm fucking done.
okay. Shoshana, I'm sorry. Okay, I think I've regained my composure. But I'll be talking about that for a while. All right, so we're nearing towards the part where I want to invite other people to be able to ask questions. I do want to ask the four of you, this is a community that your parents chose for you. You didn't necessarily choose to be part of an LGBTQ, Shul, and Jewish community. But I want to ask from your perspective, what does it feel like to be a part of it? And is it something that you're happy that they chose for you? Is it something that you are grappling with? What are the feelings that are around growing up in this space, sort of not of your own choosing?
Well, I think that it was like good for them, I guess, that like they chose this. Cause
we're happy too.
yeah, cause like if it weren't for this, I don't think I would have like the only person who I know who has like gay parents. I didn't meet her till I was like 2 years ago, you know? So I would just think that I'm like the only one who has gay parents if like this wasn't necessarily like in my life, you know? So
thank you for sharing.
I guess for me, obviously I didn't really have a choice, so I think it's pretty cool, and I met a lot of really good friends, like Naomi. But I think that's just like, I think it's something that I'm very grateful for, even when it's early in the morning on Saturdays and I'm here. But I think it's just something that I'll be grateful for.
And Malka is a madricha in our limud program, so she does come on Saturday mornings at early. Yeah, especially for being a teenager, pretty early. Lula, anything you want to share?
I was gonna say I'm really grateful for the fact that I was able to have my bat mitzvah here. I think that's like my favorite part of being at CBST is like, I think kind of my whole life I've been dreading having a bat mitzvah, and I was like, oh my God, like I really didn't want to do it. And then I did it, and it ended up being so far from what I expected it to be. It was just like a really great learning experience. Like I so look forward to my sessions with Mia and with the rabbi, not the rabbi who's here now, but
The other rabbi, yeah.
yes, regardless. But yeah, so that was a cool experience to see that about mitzvah was totally different than how I thought it was going to be.
It's wonderful. And we talked a little bit that your bat mitzvah was one of the first bar mitzvahs that I was present for when I was an intern. So it's very special to me too, even though I wasn't the rabbi when you had your bat mitzvah. Okay, Shoshana, do you want to share anything with your background? Totally clear. Okay, great. Go for it.
Which question are we talking about?
I was asking, even though this is not a community that you chose for yourself, how does it feel having grown up in this community, even without that choice?
I think for a long time, I've understood how important the CBST community is to my moms. They met, actually, you guys mentioned Shar Zahav just a minute ago. They met at Shar Zahav, the queer synagogue in San Francisco, and then joined CBST when they moved back to the East Coast. And they were members when I was born, I think. I had my baby naming here and everything. So, it's been a constant in my life. And even once I finished the Mood program, it was no question that I was going to stay involved in some way. I had two options, which were to sit in services with my moms or be a madricha. So I was a madricha for years, which was good. I actually continue to be I'm actually now a teacher at a synagogue near my college in Worcester. So that was definitely a largely impactful experience. But anyways, yeah, being a member of CBST and attending CBST has been a constant in my life, and that continuity and long-term connection to a community, especially such a unique community, is definitely something that isn't to be taken for granted. So I don't know. I think even if it didn't feel like it for a long part of my life, it's something really special and really different that a lot of people don't have. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. So I think this will be the last question that I ask you. And it's just, is there anything else that you want this congregation, this kahal, to know about you as a young person, as a Jewish person growing up right now in today's climate, or anything else generally that you weren't able to share about what it was like to grow up in this community? We covered everything, we got it? All right, so in that case, I'd love to open it up. And I also want to say, Shoshana, if you do have to go, we want to say a huge, huge, huge thank you for joining from Clark. We really appreciate it, and it's great to see you. Great. So I'll open it up to the kahal to see if anybody has any questions. And yeah, maybe we can.
So not a question. I'm actually going to answer your last question on behalf of my kids. So the three of them grew up here at CBST and are not here tonight. But when Talia was really little, she would resist very hard coming to CBST on Saturday mornings. Why do we have to go to CBST? And we used to say, because this is what we do as a family, because as parents, we came to services and the kids went to Limud. And I think many of you know that on Yom Kippur, my three kids came to CBST. They begged us to come home to go to CBST for Yom Kippur. So my work is done.
Anyone else have any questions? Come on, think of a question. Come on.
You can also ask.
Or comments.
Could you share, for the Zoomers, could you share a little bit about the trip to the South and how that impacted you?
Yeah, wonderful question. So just for those who don't know, so our teen track programming right now is on a 3-year cycle, and on the last year, we Mia and Adam. I don't know if Adam's up here right now, but Mia and Adam led the teen programming to be studying about civil rights, and which at one point during February of that year, we went on a trip to the South. I lost the, anyways. Oh, yeah. I won't say anything about that. Anyways, so the teen track programming then went to Alabama and did a sort of a whirlwind tour of civil rights, particularly in that region. So that was last year. And then this year, Mia and Eliza are leading the teen track programming. And in January, they'll be going to Washington to the Litaken program run by the RAC, where the focus will be on policy and organizing and lobbying and Jewish and social justice issues. So it's pretty amazing. So it would be great to hear from, I think just Malka was on the trip. Naomi also was supposed to be there and couldn't go, but we missed you. So.
Okay, so thanks for your question, Ima. I accept your apology, Mommy. So I think that personally going on the trip was really, really meaningful for me. And I think that I personally had a really meaningful experience throughout the trip, getting to visit different places and just getting to experience so much that I had learned in person, which I think really puts a whole new perspective onto what I learned. And I mean, whether it be waking up really early in the morning to Mia banging on my door or having really long nights just talking with my friends that, I got to see sometimes, but just getting to spend a couple of days with them. And one of my very good friends who lives in Arizona got to come with us. So that was really, really special for me. And I think just getting that whole experience of getting to do something so meaningful and so historic and getting to do that with people who were so special to me was just a really incredible experience.
It was a really special trip. Yeah, yeah, really happy that you were there. And oh, Shoshana, I don't know if you're still Shoshana. You also went on the same trip 3 years ago, pre-COVID, to the South with Ekar. Do you want to share any memories from your experience?
Yeah, both of those trips. So I did the trip to the South when I was in 8th grade, and then DC sophomore year, or yeah, something like that. Both truly incredible trips. I mean, just by virtue of the number of college application supplementals I wrote about those two trips, they were really awesome. I also, like, when I was in 8th grade on the trip to the South, like, met people who went to the high school that I ended up going to, and it was just like this, like, it was kind of my first experience, like, being besides sleepaway camp, which is the same sleepaway camp that Naomi goes to, I think. Yes. Besides sleepaway camp, like, that trip was like the first time I was around like a bunch of other Jewish teens, which was like, I really can't explain like how novel that was to me. And like, I mean, I wouldn't trade the way I grew up for anything, but it really was new to like be around like a bunch of Jewish teens and be like, wait, you had a bat mitzvah too? Like, it was crazy. But it was, I mean, it was incredible, especially with that trip to DC, like talking to congressional, like, or the assistants of like our representatives and senators and stuff, and writing those speeches, like staying up late in the like conference rooms of those hotels, writing speeches that we were like going to deliver the next day. I mean, yeah, it was like, it was really incredible. And it like kind of painted out a path for me that like, I think I want to follow at some point, like go doing like lobbying and that type of work, and just like really envisioning the path to passing legislation and like those sorts of things. Like, it was really novel and really exciting for me. Yeah.
Thank you. Amazing. Wow. And this year when we go, Litaken will have hundreds of Jewish teens there at the same time as us, and we're going to go again, actually, with JRC in Chicago with Rabbi Rachel Weiss. So that's going to be really exciting. We'll join up with them with their teen group, and we'll get to be sort of going through the tracks together. Really special. Any other questions from the kahal? It could be to me and Mia as well. It could be to the teens. Doesn't, we're open, and we let them know that they do not have to answer anything they don't want to, and we let them know that that it is okay for their parents to mortify them if they would like, if their parents want to. Sorry.
So let me just say that I can't tell you how much my heart is singing just listening to all of you. So thank you for sharing tonight. A lot of services in the last few weeks, Rabbi Kleinbaum, Rabbi Werber, have created space for us to deal with what's going on in the world. And I don't know if this is an appropriate question, and obviously you don't want to go near it, that's fine. But I know it's hard for like the grown-ups, that people have been on this earth for a lot longer than you guys have. And I'm wondering, do you have the space with each other to talk about what's going on? Is CBST a resource for you? And how do you deal with the kind of stuff that you probably are encountering in the rest of your lives, which probably take up many more hours than CBST? And if this is too touchy, then no need to respond.
I think seeing what's happening in the world in such a magnifying glass right now has been something that I feel like I'm not used to. And obviously, this has been going on for a really long time, but now we're really seeing it. And I feel like absorbing all of the news and trying to read all the different articles and trying to, it's been so incredibly overwhelming to me. And I feel like I'm trying my hardest to learn as much as I possibly can, but the situation is so incredibly not black and white. It's so complicated. It's so hard to comprehend and understand and form opinions about. And I think just like even hearing your Josh today, I think it makes me happy that as like a congregation, as a synagogue, that we're able to recognize that, and that it's not just la 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 Jewish. It's like we can actually talk about what's going on, and I'm really grateful for that because at my school we have not really mentioned it, and I really wish that there were more conversations about current events because, I mean, it's terrible, and I'd like to be talking and learning more about it. So I'm grateful that we can kind of talk about it in the way that it needs to be spoken about here.
So I go to a Jewish school, and I think something that's really been helpful to me is my school's been making a lot of space to have conversations and not only let people share their opinions, which actually differ a lot from other people's, but I think being able to having a place to share your thoughts, your opinions, and your feelings, where you're not only supported by your classmates, but also your teachers and just people who work in your school and our faculty. And I think that that's one thing that's really helpful. And another thing is, so I'd actually started today in my tefillah. Every day we're starting to say, we're starting to daven for a hostage in Israel. And my teacher decided to start doing that because someone had said that they felt so disconnected from what was happening. And as much as we can say and try and remember those hostages and the people who have passed in the attacks, it's hard to really focus on something if you're not focusing on one person at first. So now we say a different tefillah or a prayer of Tehillim for someone who's being held in captivity. And I think that that's just something that's really special and really meaningful for me that we get to do now.
Just looking to see if Shoshana or Naomi want to share, but it's okay if you don't. Great. All right. Yeah.
So, Malka, this question is really for you. And we had some of these conversations on the trip to the South that what it means to be a Jew of color in a congregation that is that we don't have a lot. And you've really grown up. And on that trip in the South, we had some very intense conversations about racism, anti-Semitism, and your perspective on those things. And I think it's something that we as a community have to keep getting it better and better. But what advice do you have? What do you think about that? How we deal with issues around making sure there's enough really honest space for Jews of color that is really meaningful? Like, what do you have to say about that?
Okay, so there's a lot of pressure.
I'm only doing this because we talked about it on that trip.
Yeah. So I think that one thing that's very important, is just listening and hearing the stories of people. And I think that that's just something that's really important to do with anyone. And I think especially so much of the time when you're speaking to Jews of color, and obviously I can't speak for everyone, but personally, I think that even just like listening and hearing experiences is so important. And I think that you can grow so much from hearing what other people have to say. And I think especially as teens, like a lot of the times people don't really think that we're listening or paying attention. And a lot of the times we are, a lot more than it may seem. And I think that even in the rough moments when there's so many horrible things going on in the world, whether it be anti-Semitism or racism. I think that creating space to hear both of those voices and opinions is so important. And I think that there's so much to be gained just from listening to others and whatever they're going through.
Beautiful, thank you. Thank you, Malka.
Just going to do one last scan to see. Oh, okay. I'm just going to do one last scan to see if anybody else wants to share anything about witnessing the growth of the synagogue in the children's programming, or question for these amazing, amazing young folks. Yeah, Randy, you can take the mic from your wife.
What would you like to see done differently? If you could do it again, what could be done?
4 Saturdays a month instead of 2, right?
10 o'clock in the morning instead of 9.
It is 10 o'clock.
Spoken as someone who used to have class for my 12th graders at 8. But seriously, I think that all 4 of you have gone through this in a real way. What advice would you give the board and these folks about what to do better, what to do differently?
Don't worry. One thing, this might seem a little silly, but I think making iced coffee available at the shul would be really nice. Glad to know I'm not alone in that thought. And I think another thing would be maybe teaching more of the tefillah in class, because I know not everyone connects through tefillah, but I think that it's always really nice knowing something, especially, and I think there's just a lot to gain from that, and especially if it's in song, I think that that's really, really meaningful, and it kind of gives a whole different spiritual experience.
Beautiful.
I would say that, like, at CBST, a lot of times it's like focused around like the problems in the world and like how to solve that stuff, and like that's very important, but I also feel like sometimes it could be like a little more centered around joy. So yeah, just like more happiness, I guess.
All right, I'm voting for both Malka and Naomi in the next election. Yeah.
I think connecting to the social events and Judaism, I feel like I've kind of had a hard time putting them together. I feel like sometimes it just feels like, okay, we're talking about something that's going on here or this issue, and then I kind of lose where exactly we're connecting it to Judaism. So I feel like pulling out more of Jewish values and really infusing them into the social conversations that we're having would probably be helpful for me, because I feel like when we're talking about Judaism, it's prayer, it's Torah, and I feel like it's a little more separate than I like. I feel like when I was doing my bat mitzvah, I was able to take all of these ideas and form an opinion about a Torah portion, and that was really exciting to me. It helped me be excited about this Jewish text. So I feel like, yeah, just connecting the two more would be great.
Excellent. Shoshana? All good? Everything was great. Great. So I just want us to give these young people a huge round of applause. I really, really, really want to say thank you for your time and for the wisdom that you shared with us. And to me, it feels like, wow, this gives me so much hope and excitement for the future. And I'm just so grateful for all of you. Thank you for being a part of this community, and I hope you continue to be a part of this community for many, many, many years to come. Thank you, and thank you, Shoshana, on Zoom also. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.